Yo, what is up, you guys? Welcome to the channel. I am back with another video here to talk about Ohio State's 73-14 drubbing of the Maryland Terrapins yesterday. The Buckeyes now improved to 9-0 on the season, and they just continue their run of dominance in 2019. So we're going to talk about this game a little bit, talk about what's next for Ohio State. We'll also talk about Chase Young, everything that's going on in that unfortunate situation. Maybe take a guess at when Chase Young will be back with the team. And then we'll also talk Alabama, LSU, how that's going to impact the whole college football playoff. And then we'll touch on Penn State, Minnesota, too. PJ Fleck, the Minnesota Golden Gophers are now 9-0. They knock off number 4 Penn State, and they deserve a lot of credit. They should be in the top 10. It looks like if Ohio State can take care of Penn State here in a couple weeks, it's going to be Ohio State and Minnesota, maybe a game of 2 undefeateds in the Big Ten championship. So a lot going on right now. But the Buckeyes, even though it's just Maryland, you got to be impressed with the way that they come out and they handle business every single week. They don't take a play off. They don't take a quarter off. They don't take anything off. They're relentless. They come at you every game, all game long, and there's just no let up with this team. And you got to give Ryan Day a ton of credit. He's done a great job keeping this team focused week in and week out, no matter who the opponent is. And that's been a big problem with Ohio State the last couple years. You know, overlooking opponents, looking ahead to other games, not being motivated for whatever reason. But not this team, not this year. We got the whole Chase Young story that breaks on Friday. I'm sure most of the team knew about it earlier in the week, like Urban said on Fox. He knew about it Tuesday, so I'm sure the team knew, but we just found out about it on Friday, and for a lot of teams, that could be a big distraction. It could be an excuse to come out and maybe not play your best game against a Maryland team that did put up 51 on Ohio State last year, took them to double overtime, but Ohio State took care of business in this game like they have all season long. They've been the most dominant team consistently this college football season. I don't think there's any debate about that. Now, LSU's got the best wins. So LSU is probably going to jump to number 1. So Ohio State's number 1 ranking is probably going to be short-lived, but it doesn't really matter. As long as they keep winning, they're going to get their shot in the college football playoff. But the most impressive thing about this game for Ohio State is we got to see all the second and third and fourth string players get a lot of playing time, and there's no drop-off. This team is so deep and so loaded at every position that no matter who you bring in off the bench, he's a starter almost anywhere else in the country, and that's the beautiful thing with this Ohio State team. I thought they played almost a flawless football game yesterday. They do give up 14 garbage points late, but they dropped 73 on Maryland and probably could have been 100 if they left Justin Fields and the starters in for the second half. But they came right out, man. 6 touchdowns on their first 6 drives. Justin Fields, J.K. Dobbins, Chris Olave, the usual suspects, put Maryland away in the first half, 42-0. Justin Fields in the first half, 15 of 25, 200 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He also rushed for 28 yards and a touchdown. So Justin Fields quietly having a Heisman-type season, but nobody's going to talk about him. They're not going to put him in the Joe Burrow or the Tua conversation because he plays for Ohio State. But 37 touchdowns to 1 interception in 2019 for Justin Fields. I think he's at least got to be in the conversation. But at the end of the day, you know, Ohio State's not worried about Heisman and awards and this and that, but, I mean, the dude's having an all-time season at Ohio State, so credit to him. And then Chris Chugunov comes in the second half. I've been critical of Chris Chugunov. I didn't think he was very good coming into the season, but maybe Ohio State's got a decent little backup quarterback here. He made some beautiful throws yesterday. He went 7 of 10 overall, 97 yards, and a touchdown. He hit Garrett Wilson on a beautiful fade route, about 15-yard touchdown early in the third quarter. And then late in the third quarter, he threw a bomb, about a 50-yard touchdown to Garrett Wilson, another beautiful throw. It got called back because of a holding penalty, which was really unfortunate. he would have had a much bigger day. Same thing with Garrett Wilson, but he made some nice throws yesterday. He looked really good. And like I said, there's not much drop-off. You know, you're playing a team like Maryland, but from the starters to the backups. So I thought Chris Chugunov looked really, really impressive yesterday. But the running backs were the story for Ohio State offensively yesterday. 4 running backs all pretty much go crazy in this game. Master Teague, 18 carries, 111 yards. And then you got J.K. Dobbins, who's having a Heisman-type season, 13 carries, 90 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But we're not done there. Marcus Crowley comes in the second half, 8 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. He did get hurt in the fourth quarter. Hopefully Crowley's going to be all right. I'd hate to see him go down with a serious injury. Didn't look too good, but hopefully he's going to be back. And then Demario McCall comes in the fourth quarter, 7 carries, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Buckeyes run for 389 yards. Combined, they have 705 yards of offense, 42 first downs, 9 for 13 on third down. They've been by far the best team in the country offensively on third down and defensively as well. I mean, it's just dominant in all phases with this Ohio State team. To have 4 running backs do that in a game, I don't know the last time that I've seen that. And then the receivers, Wilson, KJ Hill, Olave, Victor, all have receiving touchdowns on the day. So the offense had another great game. Obviously, they put up 73 points. First stringers, second stringers, didn't matter. They did whatever they wanted in this game. But it's the defense today that I think really, I won't say surprised a lot of people because we knew how talented they were and how deep this team was. But without Chase Young coming into this game, I think a lot of people thought Ohio State's D-line would take a big hit. But they had 7 sacks yesterday. You know, Tyreek Smith finally getting some real playing time, and he has 2 sacks. And then you got Davon Hamilton, who had 2 sacks, one early in the first quarter, one, I believe, in the second quarter. And then you have Zach Harrison. He got a sack as well, got the penalty for standing up and flexing over them. But then we had Malik Harrison with a sack, and also Tough Borland with a sack. And then you got sophomore backup linebacker Davon Pope comes in, gets an interception. So it was a total team effort on defense. I thought they played great across the board yesterday. Very valuable experience for these Ohio State young guys that are 4 or 5-star players, great players in their own right. They just don't get all the attention because, you know, well-deserved by Chase. He's the best player in college football. But they showed me yesterday that if for any reason Chase Young's not back, they still got more than enough talent on the D-line and on defense as a whole to still go win a national championship. I think Ohio State is far and away the deepest team in college football right now. I haven't seen anybody with the talent across the board at every position, second, third, fourth stringers, in college football this year. Now, does that mean they're going to win a national championship? No, but I'm just really impressed with how all these guys have stepped up. And like I said, it's just Maryland, but you got to give a team credit for showing up to play every single week ever since the first game against FAU, where it wasn't great, but it was pretty good. They won by 24. Ever since then, they have just absolutely steamrolled everybody. They're outscoring their opponents this year 459 to 77. Easily the best point differential in college football. Ohio State's got the number 1 offense. They got the number 1 defense. Number 1 in point differential. They're number 1 on third down. They got 3 Heisman candidates. So this Ohio State team is clearly for real. And just another great game yesterday against the Maryland Terrapins. All right, so let's jump to Minnesota and Penn State. Actually, let me go back real quick. One thing I forgot to mention, Blake Haubeil yesterday executed the nicest onside kick I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a kick to perfection like Blake Haubeil did yesterday. Ohio State got up 14-0 in the first quarter. You think they're just going to kick it away on the kickoff, and Blake Haubeil, out of nowhere, onside kicks it. He kicks it about 20 yards down the field, not your normal 10 yards, and try to grab it as quick as you can if you're the offense. But he booted it 20 yards down the right sideline, and Chris Olave just glides down the sideline. It lands right in his hands 20 yards down the field. You'd have to had watched it to really appreciate it. It was the nicest onside kick I've ever seen in my life, so I want to give Blake Haubeil and Chris Olave for executing, in my opinion, the greatest onside kick I've ever seen in my life. All right, so let's move on to Penn State and Minnesota. Like I said, got to give PJ Fleck a ton of credit. The College Football Committee put them at number 17, really didn't have respect for them coming into this game, and they used, oh, well, they haven't played anybody, blah, blah, blah. You know, neither is Alabama or Clemson or all these teams, but Minnesota was at 17, fine. They beat Penn State at home yesterday, 31-26. They really beat the hell out of them for most of the game. They had a 14-point lead. Penn State came back late. Penn State had a chance to win the game right at the end, but they threw an interception on the goal line. This doesn't change much for Penn State. Penn State's season was going to come down to, can they beat Ohio State and get to the Big Ten championship? And nothing changes because that one loss won't matter in the Big Ten if they can beat Ohio State. So for Penn State, yeah, it's a tough loss. They're going to fall probably out of the top 10 when they were at number 4. Not a good look for the Big Ten because they're just going to say Penn State's overrated. They're not going to give Minnesota the credit that they deserve. But at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything for Penn State. That Ohio State-Penn State game in 2 weeks is still going to be a massive game with the Big Ten championship on the line. So it's still going to be a huge game. I know people are probably a little bummed out because the same thing happened with Wisconsin when they lost to Illinois the week before, so Wisconsin wasn't undefeated. But to me, it doesn't matter. I don't care what Penn State's ranked or if they have a loss or not. Ohio State's still got to take care of business in the same exact way. So it's a great win for PJ Fleck in Minnesota. It's going to be really a huge story if they can finish undefeated. I still think they have to play Wisconsin and Iowa, so it's going to be tough for Minnesota to get to the Big Ten championship undefeated. But either way, what they're doing right now is definitely impressive. All right, now let's real quick touch on Alabama, LSU. There is nothing better than watching Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide just get their asses handed to them in Tuscaloosa. And that's what happened yesterday. I don't want to hear about, oh, it was close late. No, they were down 33-13 at half. They were getting smacked up and down the field. Joe Burrow lit them up, 400 yards. I believe he had 3 touchdowns. The former Buckeye sent to the SEC to take down Alabama. I'm rooting for Joe Burrow. I don't know about the other Ohio State fans. Now, if we run up against them, obviously, it's a different story. I'd love to see that matchup in the college football playoff, but I'm just so happy that LSU knocked off Alabama, and I don't want to hear any of the people saying, oh, Alabama should still get in because they have the most quality loss. No, they lost at home, they've beaten nobody, and they have no chance to impress the committee from here on out. Yeah, they play Auburn, who's probably going to be a 4-loss team, 3 or 4-loss team. That's not going to be enough to get them in. They don't have any quality wins. They have the lowest opponent win percentage in the Power 5. So Alabama is out. Unless complete chaos takes place, Alabama's not getting in the college football playoff, which is such a beautiful thing as an Ohio State fan. If we can handle the rest of our business and get in the college football playoff without Alabama being in it, yeah, I would have loved to beat Alabama, but it would be great one year to just not have them in the college football playoff, right? So impressed by LSU. They deserve to be number 1. I still think Ohio State is more talented than them. I still think they can beat LSU, but with the 4 quality wins that LSU has, they deserve number 1. Ohio State's going to drop to number 2. No big deal there, and hopefully we get a shot at them in the college football playoff. But shout out to Joe Burrow. He's a great player. Looks like he's going to be he might be the number 1 pick in the draft. I think he's got a chance to be a special player in the NFL. Joe Burrow's the truth. You know, is there any regret with Ohio State fans that we let him go? You know, or would you have rather started him over Haskins or JT Barrett? You know, who knows? That's maybe a conversation for another time, but Joe Burrow is definitely a special player, and that is a huge, huge win for Ed Orgeron and the LSU Tigers to go into Alabama for the first time in 8 years that they've beaten them and knock off Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide. So, huge win there for LSU. Last thing, we'll touch on Chase Young real quick. I basically already did. It's a really disappointing situation what happened with Chase Young just because Ohio State just was ranked number 1 by the playoff committee, right? Everything's going right. Feels like they're on top of the world right now. Everybody's talking so great about Ohio State and how good they are. And everybody's talking about how Chase Young's the best player in the country. You know, he's been put in the Heisman conversation. A lot of people actually thought he was going to win it. And just to see this news break on Friday, it's just so disappointing, and it just puts a knot in your stomach as an Ohio State fan, because it just feels like we can never get away from all the negative scandals and all that stuff. So it's very, very tough situation. Hopefully Chase is going to be able to return. If it was a family friend, which sounds a little fishy to me, a family friend he met the year before he committed to Ohio State, I don't know. People are saying it was an NFLPA agent, so it could be more trouble for the agent than Chase. But either way, I don't know how this story got brought to light, if Ohio State really brought it to the NCAA and they just found out. Who really knows? The whole situation seems fishy to me. But from what we're hearing, Chase is being cooperative. He's working with the NCAA. And he's been very, upfront about everything that happened. So hopefully we can get him back. He's a game changer on this team, obviously. I just don't want to see him take the Nick Bosa route and decide, hey, Ohio State and Chase just decide it's best for both parties to just split ways, and Chase go prepare for the NFL, and Ohio State maybe makes it so they don't get in any further trouble. I don't know. I want to see Chase Young come back. Gus Johnson said it's only going to be one game. Joe Klatt said 2. Herbie mentioned it could be 4. So who knows? We don't know when we're going to get Chase back, if he's going to return at all. But, obviously we're hoping that he can return as soon as possible. Hopefully we're praying that no more punishment is put on Ohio State too. So it's just a bad situation for the Buckeyes. This has been a perfect season. Everything's gone right. And I believe Ryan Day is going to run a clean program at Ohio State. So to have this story come out, just really disappointing. But it is what it is. You got to roll with the punches. I think he's going to be back, and he should be on fire when he returns. But if he's not, Ohio State showed yesterday, albeit against Maryland, they got more than enough talent on that defensive line to still cause a lot of problems, in my opinion, for any quarterback in the country. So that's my thoughts on everything. The Buckeyes destroyed Maryland yesterday, 73-14. They improved to 9-0. They're a couple games away. You got Rutgers next week. Backups are probably going to play all game. The spread's probably going to be 60 in that game. And then it's at home against Penn State, which I don't see Ohio State losing to Penn State. I just think they're just too good. I don't see them losing to Michigan. And we'll see what happens in the Big Ten Championship. I think they're going to run the table, but we'll see. Got to stay focused every game. And, I'd just love to get another shot at Clemson in the college football playoff. That's the team I want. I'd love to play Clemson first, knock them off, and then play LSU in the national championship game. So that's my hopes. But, that's everything I got for today. You guys let me know anything Ohio State related down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of the whole Chase Young situation, what you thought of the Buckeyes' performance against Maryland yesterday. Where do you think Ohio State should be ranked on Tuesday when the College Football Committee puts out their new rankings? Let me know if you were as happy as I was to watch Alabama get their asses whooped in Tuscaloosa. Give me your thoughts on Chase Young. Leave me all your thoughts down below in the comment section, guys. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I will check y'all later. Go Buckeyes, and peace out.